if this resonates with you, to not speak ill about yourself or with any kind of disgust or disdain for being in the natural process of moving through time and age, which is what orchids do and rabbits do and trees and cats and every other freaking thing on the planet that's part of being in dualistic reality is things move through time. And yet the heartbreak, it's always been this way for me, of watching people diminish, take in that poison in terms of the language. We talked last week about what's called in Sanskrit matrika shakti. It's that the power of your word becomes reality. So when you have this word where you keep saying, I am old, or, I am useless, or I am ugly, whatever these things are, the cells truly listen and go, okay. I mean, I even go, I'm a great believer in doing weight-bearing exercise. And I've been going to this boot camp thing off and on forever. I love throwing weights around and I love all that kind of stuff. And I go to this thing where these are very kick-ass women, mostly between the ages of 40 and 75. And the number of times, even in the middle of very hard workouts, that these women say, oh, I'm just old. I'm just old. And I'm there and I'm going, you talk about yourself if you like, poison yourself if you like. I don't say this to my body, especially if you think how crazy it is while you're working out. You want to be telling your body, I got you. I love you. Every day you're becoming stronger. Because the truth is, no matter what age you are, the body's always regenerating itself as long as you're still in that form. Every 7 years, the body is remaking itself. So you really want to watch, what is the matrika shakti? What is the language that you're telling yourself? And I would just ask, you're here, to take that on. Somebody was asking last week, is there homework? I would say, take that on as a piece of homework. Just watch and catch yourself. Don't beat yourself up. Don't blame yourself. It's a toxicity that's been imbibed through the air in this culture, but notice it. Maybe even keep a log of it, and when you catch it, just go, oh, I'm replacing that. Cancel. Just cancel it. And especially also, I was mentioning this last week about in Spanish, how they say, tiene años, that you have years instead of that you are those years. That you can watch that too, that, rather than saying, I am old, or I am getting old, or whatever, just notice, I have this, if you need to even talk about the topic, I have this many years. You can take the Spanish and put it into English, because what that does is it lets your true self, which is ageless and formless and expansive, it lets your true self be the center of identity. And then you're saying that true self happens to be contained in a temporary human form that at the moment has X number of years to it. At the moment, it has this particular race or this particular nationality or this particular gender. It has all these different significators, but the identity is that ageless, vast form. And I will tell you, if you even do that for a week, you'll be astonished by the transformations that start to happen, because you're disentangling from that prison of I am all of these things, which are actually not the true identity. I'm not dismissing reality. I'm super practical. But the paradox is, even though you are holding those number of years, the paradox is at the same time, there's a deeper part of you that is ageless, formless, and vast. And the more you bring that energy in, the more you infuse everything with the truth of who you really are. And you step into that expansive place. So that's one thing. And the second thing, just as the week unfolds, really watch the conversations you're having with people, because it's so tricky. There's a bonding that people sometimes expect you to have, like you're going to bond over this horror of getting older, where in fact you really can make a choice, at least for the duration of this class. You don't really need those conversations. Just step out of them for a while. You're really not going to miss them. And what you can replace them with is, and we're going to do a bit of this today in a meditation, but when you take on yourself, your body as that you become the ally of the body, basically, that you want to step into that allyship. And, there's almost a place, I remember I probably did this when I was about 50. I felt like I sat down with my body and I like apologized to it for all the different ways that I had not honored it, or that I had told it that it should be different. So this obviously isn't something that only begins with the madness of aging. You get taught in a culture that's crazy that there's always something wrong with you. It's just that age becomes the latest form of that. So, we're also going to be working with that some too. But just to notice that when the mind starts to come in with these diminishing thoughts, that you go back to a place of saying, I will be your ally. No matter how much, you might hate your hips or your laugh lines or your weight or who knows what, or your arthritis. But if that body is sacred to love and its purpose is only to serve, its deepest purpose is to serve, then the idea of doing an exorcism to cast out all that is useless and false is not that difficult. You can call in the power of love to do that. And when I was thinking about this, I was remembering, I love Walt Whitman, and there's a quote from Walt Whitman. Some of you have heard me quote this before. It's one of my favorite quotes. He said, dismiss whatever insults your own soul, and your very flesh shall be a great poem. So if you think about it, let me say that again, dismiss whatever insults your own soul, and your very flesh shall be a great poem. So this idea, that, just that self-disdain and that self-rejection that people are taught in a culture that is incorrect about aging, all of that to me is a great insult. That's why, when I was talking in the last class, and I was with some woman, and she said she called herself an old bat and she wanted to include me. And I was like, you can call yourself that. I'm not included. I'm not including myself in what insults my soul. It's